welcome to Room 420. I am your host, Gary Miller. Today, I am with my good friend, Loren Ross. I want to give you the coin term that you said, digital nomad. Maybe you didn't do it, but I'm still going to say you coined that term.
What was the first one? I think Tim Ferriss might have been the first
Tim
one.
Ferriss, we're going to say Loren Ross. So if you guys heard it here first.
There you go.
So what does it mean to be a digital nomad?
So, philosophically speaking, I think a digital nomad is someone who is yearning more for freedom than they require stability. I think that would be how I desire it. So, an example of that would be essentially, on a foundational level, you would rather have more freedom of schedule and like where you work, when you work, as opposed to a steady paycheck and knowing where you're going to sleep in a month or two.
So I think you went full tilt. Like I think you had a moment where, you were able to come back to a home for a little bit too, and then now you're like, nope.
I've done the vagabond thing in a couple different ways.
Yeah.
So like way back in the day, I started off with college. I may or may not have used some money that was given to me in college from a certain government, perhaps, to travel around the world when I had breaks.
Yeah.
And then at the end of my college career, I was like, I wanted to be a therapist. I was like, man, I don't really like being a therapist. I didn't have enough empathy at that age to be a therapist. I was a real selfish asshole. And I'm pretty bad now. Can I cuss on here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I was a real selfish prick. And now I'm like slightly less of a selfish prick. But anyway, so I was like, I knew I wanted to travel. So I was like, how can I travel and make money going around? So I taught English in Vietnam for a year. You're welcome. Fighting for our freedom over in Nam. And that wasn't quite for me, so I came back, and then I started getting into digital marketing stuff. And it was kind of in the back of my mind. It was a dream that I didn't think could ever really happen, to live, or honestly live the life that I live now, of just kind of going wherever the hell I wanted to go, when I wanted to go. And slowly but surely, it just kind of came to fruition. Got a couple of years of experience at different firms. I had broken up with a girlfriend recently at my last firm I was at, and then I think it was a week later, they came up to me on a Friday, and I was wearing a very tight, exceedingly vibrant Hawaiian shirt. And my manager came up to me and said, if you keep wearing that shirt, you're not going to be able to work here. Yeah. And I was like, fair enough. I understand you guys pay me. And I think it was a couple days later, I was like, I'm putting in my 3-week notice. This is time. And then I started doing Uber Eats, listening to 4 Hour Workweek by Tim Ferriss, which I'd recommend. Yeah. And did Uber Eats for 8 months while I started my business. I had a home base here in Denver, and then I would just kind of travel back and forth. And then earlier this year, I was down in Cape Town, South Africa. And I was like, why am I holding on to this house? And so I let go of my lease. And then I also just sold my car back to the dealership. So, like, I'm a full-time homeless guy. Like, I'm a couple steps away from getting a shopping cart.
Has it kind of helped with peace of mind, you think, with some of that?
That's a good question. I think my willingness to give things away is I'm a lot more open to it now than I was. I don't think I have as much attachment to certain physical things. Like I have my bicycle outside now. I still love that thing, but in general, like somebody was like, this necklace that I'm wearing. Somebody the other day was like, dude, that's a cool necklace, and I was going to take it off and give it to him. Yeah. And so I think it's kind of helped with that to a degree. It's not that bad. I mean, for people listening to this who are interested in traveling around the world and kind of doing your own thing, it's not, once you kind of start letting go of things, it's really not nearly as scary as you think it's going to be. Most of it's just like anything else, right? I mean, you starting Best Worst Cantina, all that. Like the worst part of it was just in your mind before you started doing it. Once you started doing it, it's like, oh, this isn't so bad. You know?
It's not really like thinking about anything as much too. You're like, I don't need this car. I'm not going to see it for a while too, huh?
Yeah, the car's sitting there. It's a symbol of security that I was paying, a decent chunk of change for every month, just so I felt like I had stability still. Yeah. But that's not worth it, and especially in today's market with selling cars. Right? I mean, the used cars, right? It's ridiculous how much that car's going for. So it's not worth that much, So it's like, well, I should capital.
So I got a question. How do you prepare to like when you're like, okay, I'm gonna go? I mean, you could really be anywhere, but like you're like, all right, I'm gonna go live here for a little bit.
Yeah, so I actually started, 3 years ago I started my business, Len Ross Marketing Consulting, and then a year ago I started Digital Nomad Lifestyle. So I'm at digitalnomadlifestyle.com, official Digital Nomad Lifestyle on Instagram, for that very same reason, that I was like, there's a lot of people wondering about this stuff, and it took me a long time to figure out how to do some of this stuff, so I might as well like be able to share that with folks, and then hey, at some point if I can start making some money off of display advertisements on the website, or if I can do like career coaching for people who want to get into digital nomad stuff, great. But how I prepare, the biggest thing is going to be Wi-Fi. It's going to be the biggest one. So when I'm looking at, I guess it kind of depends. Do I have a place I want to go to, or are you just saying like trying to find a place that I already picked a place?
Yeah, I guess that's if we're to pinpoint where it's like, okay, I'm going to pick this place.
Yep.
So you're like, I'm going to go to like the Netherlands.
Yep.
Right. And you're like, all right, how long am I going to stay there? Okay, am I working with my clients? You know, like time zone stuff. So I'm like, there's so much to it. You know what I mean? Like you got to work with clients who are worldwide. Yeah.
Well, I don't, thank God.
Yeah.
So my clients are from like California, and then I have an employee in New York. Okay. So my clients and contacts only span across 3 or 4 time zones.
Okay.
Thank God.
Yeah.
When I started, I wanted to work with Chinese customers and stuff like that, and thank God I did. That would have been a nightmare. Waking up. But yeah, so there's some of it's just also building your life. So for time zones, that's a great example.
Yeah.
So now what I'm doing, actually, my next trip, I'm leaving in 6 days. I'm going to go to Dublin. Then me and my elderly mother, 66 years old, are going to go around Dublin. Then we're going to go into Scotland, go around touring the Scotch distilleries, and then we're going to Oktoberfest. And then I'll be going around Austria, Czech Republic, although it's Czechia, I think is what they're calling it now. Okay. Czech Republic, and then Berlin. My mom, I want to see my mom's reaction to some of those. Libertine is what you call them in French, the Libertine clubs, the Liberty clubs. And then back to Amsterdam.
So what is a Libertine club?
Libertine in French is like liberated, a liberated club. So you're just kind of able to do, there's not a whole lot of rules. Yeah. It's a pretty wild time. But yeah, so we're going and doing that. So we're going to go do that. I don't know if I'm going to go to a whole lot of libertine clubs with my mom, but I do want to at least go to one where people are like banging and just see, like, I want to like record her reaction, you know? Like me and my mom have gotten closer. I think like that's fucked up, man. She's 66 years old. She's a religious woman.
But she's going to see so much of Europe that's, you know.
I mean, I'm opening her up to new ideas and to culture. It's really, it's not about me. It's about her. Yeah. Right? That's how I do it. Yeah. I'm being a good son.
Going to Dublin and all that stuff. Are you taking her to Guinness or anything? Or
we might go to Guinness. Yeah. I'm not a crazy Guinness drinker. I like Imperial Stouts. I'm more on the Rasputin side of things.
What is your like substances that you're like? Because mine, I'm like coffee, booze, weed. You know?
Yeah, mine is definitely booze. I'm not as much of a weed guy, although I'm thinking about getting back into it. Yeah. To be honest with you, smoked a lot of weed in high school, particularly 14 years old. I don't condone that for anybody. I don't recommend it. It was a bad idea. I screwed up a lot of good opportunities I had because of marijuana at a young age. And then, I started getting really anxious about it at 17. Really? And now every time I get high, there's like there's this like almost like automatic response where it's like my heartbeat, it's like really, I have like a panic attack essentially. I was like, man, maybe I should move past this. I don't know. I mean, part of me really wants to because ultimately one of my goals is to do like an ayahuasca trip. And I'd like to get more. I do miss the aspects of marijuana where the objectivity. Like now I have to do like about a year ago, I did a bike trip from Athens, Greece to Istanbul, Turkey. And so now you have to do these really hardcore, I have to do these hardcore physical things or go to like really different countries for a long period of time to like try to simulate the objectivity that I used to get from weed. So it would be a lot easier if I could just fucking take a hit or two and then get that as opposed to like having to ride 100 miles in the Greek sun, you know.
Is it like contending with the ego a little bit for you? Or like,
it's a good question. I think it's it's a control thing of death is really what it comes down to. It's like my body like automatically, right? Like more my the more sort of motive aspects of me are like we don't have control. Yeah. And that means that we're going to die. And someday we're going to die, but we need to pretend as though we're never going to die. Yeah. And how we can pretend as though we're never going to die is if you always feel as though you're in control of your mind. You know, and so when you lose control of your mind, then automatically it's like feels like this domino effect where it's like, well, man, if I can lose control of my mind that easily, how easily could I lose my life? And then, oh my God, I'm just gonna fucking die, dude, someday.
I'd be curious to see, we talked about like, cannabis and ayahuasca and then like doing fitness and stuff too. Like how your brain, I guess, would react on those like three if you were able to see them, versus like you as a child too. Like when you just have that objectivity, like this lack of fear and stuff like that. If there's like a correlation, you know what I mean? Because I think like there's something like you're saying where we kind of pick up this fear of death.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't have it at all at 14.
Yeah.
It's like, I mean, I didn't give a shit. I was like, yeah, I mean, people, that's what? I was like, cocaine was one thing I was never into.
Yeah.
But at 14, it's like, oh, that sounds kind of cool, DMT. Yeah. It's like I was kind of down for doing whatever. And then at some point, there was some moment where, you could say, I guess it's like kind of an ego thing where it was like, dude, we're going to die someday, man. We need to like hold on to control because this is our only proxy to control of death. And I think ayahuasca, I think that's the ultimate like hardcore hallucinogen. I don't want to say hardcore, that's probably the hard term, but like more powerful hallucinogenics. I think that's the ultimate in letting go of that fear of death. And the fear of death is another one. Like I had a what I would consider a near-death experience on that bike ride. I was just outside Athens, Greece. I was trying to do 120 miles. I don't know if you have international folks on here, but 120 miles is maybe like a 180, 190 kilometers. I was trying to do that in July in Greece. And then I was in the middle of nowhere, and I had like pretty hardcore, like I think like sunstroke. I couldn't think straight. I couldn't even ride my bike on the lowest gear. I was in such bad shape, and it got to the point where I was just like dragging my bike 100 meters at a time, and then sitting underneath the shade and like trying to collect my breath. And it felt like I was like ate too many edibles, and like the thoughts were zooming through my mind. And at one moment, I was like, man, I might fucking die out here, dude. I was in such bad shape. And I was just like, dude, I've had a good life. And so it's kind of another one. Where it's just like, I think the worst part is like the anticipation of fucking, like going out and being a dirtbag, traveling the world, or the anticipation of dying or whatever. I think that's all.
I think I've had those kind like with working out in cannabis, like those balls, like I'm going to die. Like it goes through your head and then you're like, wait, I'm not going to die. I just need to catch my breath here. I'm fine. I remember like really like when I combined the two, like a college wrestling practice where got high and went to wrestling.
Yeah, dude.
And then, but then it was like, once you got past like this lung blow, call it, like where you're just like heaving and you're like, oh, I'm fine.
Yeah.
And like the pain was gone. It was like the most in the zone I think I'd ever been.
They're magical moments.
Yeah.
I realized on that, like I said, I would call that a near-death experience. I don't know what the fuck is going on. I know the next day, after all that happened, the next day I tried to walk up one flight of stairs and I was out of breath. Yeah. Like whatever happened, I got fucked up. But the reason why I got fucked up is because I was crazy competitive with everybody that I ran into and all the time. And I was sitting there, I was trying to think of why, while I was like fucking, felt like I was dying on the side of this country road in Greece. Like, why am I out here doing this? Why am I nearly killing myself? And it was because I wanted, if I ran into someone else who was doing a bike ride at any point in the future, and the subject came up, where, what was your longest day? I wanted to tell them, oh yeah, dude, I've done, I think it was like 180 kilometers. I think it was like 180 kilometers, something like that, 120 miles. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like, I'm fucking better than you. And you need to know that right off the bat, that I'm fucking better than you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like, that was the reason why. And I realized that whole time it was like this layer of this operating system I've run my entire life was finally exposed to me in that near-death experience where it was like, dude, this is my whole life. Yeah. Every dude that I meet, I'm always like, oh, I'm bigger than that guy. And if I'm not bigger than that guy, I got a better-looking girlfriend. If I'm not, then, it's like I'm making more money than his. Yeah. And if he checks off all three of those, then fuck that asshole. He's a piece of shit, and I bet he hates his life and have a better life than he does. It's like you're always trying to find something. And that is something I do miss from weed, because it's like, yeah, you have those you can have those revelations all the time if you're smart about weed. And if you're smoking, I think if you're smoking weed every single day and you're just building up a tolerance, maybe not as much. But that's not really my place to say. Yeah. But I do miss that aspect of getting in, huh?
I think when you're talking to that ego, I just saw recently, it was like a heart-to-heart with Kevin Hart, and he was talking to Mike Tyson. And Mike Tyson was talking about something very similar to what you're talking about. Where he was like, I wanted to be the best that the sun had ever seen.
Yeah, dude.
not just like living, like that had ever lived, ever seen. It's like, is there like a problem with the ego? And, you talk to Kevin Hart about it, and Kevin's like, I have that same, everybody,
for
I
sure,
think
dude.
everybody
Kevin
does,
Hart, yeah.
everybody has that. And, like you talk about it, I had the same, same thing, but it was like, it's an internal thing where it's like, okay, there's somebody down in Florida who wants what I have. He wants exactly what I want to accomplish. I need to outwork that dude.
Yeah.
And there's just an imaginary person in your head all the time. You're like, if I don't work that hard, they're going to take everything that I want, and there's always that fear. I think there's sometimes you let go. You do let go for a time, but I think there's that when your stomach starts growling or something else, it comes back.
Yeah, dude.
For sure. It's very human.
It's there.
Yeah.
I think what I'm trying to do, I recently had a relationship with a woman that was incredible. And as is tradition, I totally fucked it up and left her because I got a lot of problems. Yeah. But I've been Veriheal might actually, you guys might have the solution to this whole time, dude. I just like a little bit of weed probably fix all this stuff.
I think Aaron Rodgers talked about ayahuasca.
Yeah, dude.
Recently helped him win 2 MVPs. That's what his position on it.
It's good enough for him.
So
she exposed a lot of stuff to me, and one of those was, am I acting out of fear or out of passion? And I'd like to change my motivation to be more working out of passion than fear. Because what happens for me is when I'm working out of fear, when I'm working because I'm afraid I'm going to lose a bunch of money, or I'm going to lose this client, or I'm not going to be able to pay my pay my employees, or I'm not going to be able to afford to get my mom into the sex club that I want to get her reaction from. You know what I mean? Like, if I'm acting out of those fears, then invariably I start coupling my work with fear and anxiety, and I hate it. Whereas if I'm acting out of passion and excitement, and I'm focused on, okay, what is tomorrow, right? Like, what can I learn to get better tomorrow? Then I start, like, the work gets easier. So that's my thing. I think for me, I'm trying to be careful about what's motivating me, because fear is an incredible motivator in the short term. It can really get things moving very quickly, right? But if you were just working off fear, that was the only reason why you do all the stuff that you do, I think you're either going to burn out or you're just going to hate your life. And I'm not that disciplined. Like, I'm really not. In all reality, I'm not. Like, I think in some cases, I've said this before, dude, like, the individual that wakes up every morning, goes to the job that they fucking hate, and does it because they know that they need money, they need to make money, and they have obligations. I think that person has way more discipline than I do, personally. Like, I can't fucking do that. I'd be like, fuck this, dude. It's like, I'll go flip burgers at 3 different jobs, you know what I mean? Like, even if it means I take a pay cut and, like all this stuff, it's like, because I don't have the discipline to go do something just because I know that the ends justify the means.
I think it comes down to like philosophy a little bit too, right?
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah. But anybody listening to this stuff, if you're interested, I mean, I assume a lot of people listening to this, they're probably taking alternative paths in life, right?
Oh yeah, totally.
Is my guess.
Yeah.
And really, the digital nomad stuff, I mean, COVID was a horrible thing in a lot of ways, right? But the positive that came out of it is a lot of people are remote now. A lot of people can live a lifestyle that was like a dream to most people even 10 years ago. Yeah. And so it is there, and whether you go like Tim Ferriss or you go through even like Nomadic Matt has some cool stuff. His is a little bit based on budget too. So if that's like a big concern of yours, or just looking up, there's a million of them, you know what I mean? Or if it's digital nomad lifestyle, like whomever it is that's helping you kind of get to that point, it's like, dude, I mean, you guys can do it if you want to, right? Yeah. It's not for everybody, you know what I mean? And I don't mean that in an elitist way. I just mean it's like, it's incredibly, it's a pretty selfish way to live, you know what I mean? It's like living out of a hotel and changing scenery every couple months, you know what I mean? It's not for everybody. But
I think like you're someone who's kind of hardwired to, you have this like sojourner soul, you know what I mean?
Yeah, dude.
Just a wandering soul. And I think you got to see the world. And I think if there's people like that, who I think a lot of people would resonate with how you are. You're like, I need to go see the world. How do I figure that out? And I'm like, this is, like you said, there's some blueprints.
Yeah, for sure.
So I think that's pretty cool.
And trying to turn that liability into an asset was one. Because my dad, one year, had, I think, 13 W-2s. So for anyone outside of the U.S., so W-2s, that means that he had 13 different jobs. Which is pretty damn impressive.
Yeah.
He was a hireable guy.
Yeah.
And a fireable guy. I don't think he ever actually got fired by any of those jobs. I think he just left.
He just left.
Yeah, he was just like, yeah, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm bored. And so my dad left, he left our family when I was like 10 too. And so I have that same DNA to move around, to jump around, to crave novelty, right? And so I've channeled it in a way where I think that it's a little more productive than the way that my dad did. Whereas now my dad like can't hold down a job and he's like pretty much living out of his car. You know what I mean? And so if you have that DNA in you to move around and to seek novelty, then I think this is, the digital nomad that's the way to go. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. There's a lot of stuff in the gig economy online, right, where you can like switch up jobs, you know what I mean, if you want to. Yeah. So just like figuring out what works for you and how to make it so it's like more healthy than your parents. Yeah, I suppose, like a digital nomad. Yeah. The digital nomad lifestyle isn't. I mean, if you have kids and stuff like that, maybe not the best idea. Although people pull it. Yeah,
I've definitely seen people bring their kids along and figure it out on a smaller scale than you have. I mean, you speak how many languages now?
Well, I've gotten my English fluent, which I'm pretty proud of. My mom's from West Virginia, so that's I can be. I started a little deep in the hole there. Just kidding. She gets so angry. She's like, "Why do you always talk about me being white trash?" It's like, Mom, we were a bit white trash when we grew up. You know what I mean? There were broken down cars in our front yard. Our house is over 100 years old. You know what I mean?
You don't realize it till you're older.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know I was poor until...
Yeah, dude. Like you and I were both white trash. You know what I mean? Like you were like city white trash. I was like country white trash. You know what I mean? It's like, dude, I remember...
when your family has a lot of pride, too. And they try, you know what I mean? Like, they don't... We're like, we're not poor.
It's like, you fucking are. We are. Yeah. No, we're fucking poor, man. You know what I mean? It's like, like we're not in the grand scheme of things, right? Yeah. It's like I'm not about to go over. I mean, I was in South Africa for a while. I'm not about to go over to like parts of Joburg and be like, "Hey, you guys want to hear about how tough my upbringing was?" Like, no, you know what I mean. In the grand scheme of things, right? We had a pretty privileged life, and we had incredible parents. But still, anyway. So English, really good at English. My Spanish has gotten pretty decent. So after Europe, I'm going to be going to Guadeloupe, which is a French island. I'll be staying there for 2 months. Is my plan, so I can get my French back to a reasonable level. And then Mandarin Chinese, I can speak fairly well. The writing, I haven't lost too much writing because I still have some friends that I message on WeChat and Instagram. My ultimate goal, I want to add on Arabic and Russian. So I'd like to be fluent in the languages of the UN. So Arabic, Russian, Spanish, French, English, and Mandarin Chinese. That's not before I die. I think I'd probably do that by the time I'm 40. Yeah. Maybe not fluent, but you know what I mean? It's like conversation.
Yeah, like conversation.
Like my Spanish level where it's like, I don't have to ever use English in Spanish countries if I don't want to. That's like beautiful. Just at that point.
That's beautiful.
Spanish is beautiful. I prefer Spanish. I told you guys this weekend. I prefer Spanish to English, dude. It's an incredible language.
Which I think is pretty incredible because I think like for me at least like Spanish it taught so much formal.
Yeah.
You know, and then like hearing how it's actually spoke, I was like, oh, I need to relearn everything almost.
Yeah. Yeah. When people ask me, so people ask me quite often, it's like, how did you learn Spanish? Like Spanish speakers, and I always say en la calle. Which is like in the streets, man. So it's like most of my vocabulary is like cuss words. You know what I mean? It's like I'm not about to use vosotros. You know, it's like that's not even in Spain.
The lisp, you know, or anything.
Yeah, I mean, I do use the lisp. When I was over there in Barcelona, you know, it's like you gotta, con permiso. You know, like you do update it. And I did actually like that. You grow to even like some of those lisps, but I lose it now.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not about to fucking go to Mexico, bro, and like start using a lisp like.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, they're like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
So, yeah. You kind of... But, yeah, that's the languages. I'm a big fan. Big fan of languages. I mean, all that originated from, feeling like I was white trash. You know what I mean? And, like, not wanting to be like the people I grew up with, you know, which is something that I'm working now to kind of integrate. It's like there's a lot of positive aspects of the blue-collar lifestyle. You know what I mean? And I don't want to, like, throw all that out because I'm insecure about my mom being from West Virginia and, like not being sophisticated enough,
Just kind of, the culture of America, it's very much dictated by, metropolitan cities like New York and LA.
Yeah, for sure.
And even to a certain extent, like when you live here in Colorado, like Denver.
Yeah.
There's certain parts of Denver that are very different than other parts of Denver. Mm-hmm. And the older you get, the more you see it and realize it, It's pretty interesting. But, you've had this wide array of culture you've seen all over the world, too. Like you just touched on, like different levels of poverty and stuff like that.
For sure.
Too.
Yeah,
So,
I'm not an anthropologist, but I've seen quite a bit.
But like you've seen stuff like you're talking about in Johannesburg, right?
Yeah, I got fucking mugged.
Yeah.
Mugged and arrested in Joburg.
Would you mind tell us about the mugging?
Yeah, dude. So this is like, you talk about American culture.
Yeah.
It's like classic arrogance. It's really why I got mugged. And a disclaimer before I say that, you can go to South Africa and you can travel in South Africa safely. Mm-hmm. Pay attention to what people tell you. Stay away from the neighborhoods that people tell you to stay out of, and you'll be fine. And don't be an idiot, and you'll be fine. But if you're a fucking idiot, you're going to get in a lot more trouble a lot quicker in Joburg than you are even in Cancun or, like even parts of Colombia. It's like shit gets real in South Africa a lot quicker than it does in a lot of other parts of the world. And so I'm going in Joburg with a friend, and I was actually about to buy some like really expensive cognac because I had a pretty killer deal on it at the liquor store we were at. And I was like, man, I might do this. And because I had closed a pretty decent sized deal before that. And thank God I didn't. And we're looking up the restaurant we're going afterwards. Looking it up, it's like, maybe a couple miles away. Maybe 8 to 10 kilometers away. And it's about an hour to walk. And so I'm like, hey, dude, let's just walk over to this restaurant. And my friend's from Joburg. She's been there her entire life. And she goes, Joburg, Johannesburg, South Africa. And she goes, no. We're not walking down that street. And I was like, why? And she goes, we're not walking down the street. You cannot walk down that street. I was like, yeah, dude, I've traveled all over the world, man. What are you talking about? I can't walk down that street. And then we go back and forth, and like I make some jokes, like because they all say racist is what they're calling. Like, were you racist? Because I'm white, I can't walk down that street. She's like, yeah, that's exactly it. You're white, you cannot walk down that street. And I was like, dude, I've traveled all over the world, man. It's like I'm a fucking white man from America. I do whatever the fuck I want. Yeah. Like all this bullshit. I mean, I wasn't actually saying those things, but essentially that's what it was. It's like, dude, I know more about your city than you do.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah.
Like, follow me. We're going to be fine.
Yeah.
It's like my phone. I'm not going to take my phone out. I'm going to know our directions. It's the middle of the day. I'm going to walk with confidence, but I'm going to be confident but not cocky. Mm. And in the U.S., if you're in neighborhoods and you're walking confident but not cocky, then you're generally going to be okay, in my experience. And back when I was hitchhiking through sketchy-ass parts of the U.S., so I was like, dude, I've been fine, man. I've traveled all over the world. We'll be fine. 10 minutes later, I'm walking down the street, having a great time. Mm-hmm. Everybody on the street is like waving and be like, hey, how's it going? And I'm like, dude, look at this. And like looking over, it's like, see, look at how little faith you have in humanity. It's like, these people love me. You know what I mean? They're like, and like, little do I know, these people are like, look at this fucking idiot walking down this road. I'm probably the first white person they've seen walking down this road. Yeah. Literally people from Joburg, particularly white people. I mean, I hate to make it a race thing, but it's really what it is. White people from Joburg, and even people over there, black people with more money, they'll take an Uber a couple blocks away instead of walking, like in this part of like Joburg, the city center. And so I was like, yeah, see, things are going great. And she's like, kind of letting her shoulders down, like, okay, maybe this idiot is onto something. I'm like, dude, I told you, man, it's fine. Walk down the street and like, hey, how's it going, man? Like feeling like the fucking life of the party. And then all of a sudden, I feel someone going to grab my leg. And they go, give me all your money, white boy. And I turn around, there's fucking 6 dudes standing there, either 5 or 6. Yeah. Shit you not. They're probably teenagers. And I'm looking at them, they all have face masks on. I'm like, oh, son of a bitch. Give me all your fucking money. And I was like, what the fuck? And then, like, just instinctually, I, like, lunged at him a bit as if I was going to hit him. And it's like, I think the only reason why I did that is because she was next to me. And I felt maybe instinctual or automatic response to kind of protect her. And I saw someone going to grab her bag, and I pushed him against the wall. And I saw all of them just stand there in shock and like, what the fuck's wrong with this guy? You know what I mean? And then I remember like out the side of my mouth to her, I was like, we need to get the fuck out of here. Because I realized it's like, dude, if we wait even like another 30 seconds, that automatic response of like me getting angry and then being shocked is going to wear off. And I'm going to be like, dude, there's 5 of us and one of him. Yeah. We're going to fuck this guy up. Yeah. And so I was like, let's get the fuck out of here. So I turn around, walk off. We go into a hotel. I'm sitting in the hotel, dude. Like, I was fucking buzzing, man.
Wow.
So we got in the hotel, and I can't blame him. It's like what I took away from that story is essentially like, yeah, she knew not to go in that neighborhood, and I should have went there.
Yeah.
Shouldn't have went there. The dude, I remember walking away. The guy he was selling like candy down the street. He like gives me a fist bump, and I was like, I like reluctantly put out my fist, and I have this confused look on my face, like, what the fuck, dude? You like, why are you giving me a fist bump, bro? You just saw me get fucking nearly mugged. Like, why are you giving me a fist bump? And then I thought about it, and I was talking to my friend, and she goes, it's essentially like seeing a fender bender.
Yeah.
Like that neighborhood is so, like, there's so much crazy shit that goes on in that neighborhood all the time. It's not that big of a deal. They're like habituated. They're used to it. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And like those kids, it's like, dude, if I were looking at the prospects, if I were 14 or 15 years old and I were looking at the prospects that those kids are looking at, a lot of those kids are looking at in that neighborhood, and I was like, am I going to go struggle to find some fucking job? And I think it's like 50% unemployment rate in parts of Joburg. Or am I going to go out with my buddies and fucking mug a bunch of idiots walking around? It's like, dude, I'd totally mug people. I was breaking into cars at 14, 15 years old. It's like, I was never struggling for food. Yeah. You know what I mean? So it's like, dude, I would have totally done like, I can't blame them.
Yeah.
And, so I walked away from it just being like, yeah, dude, like, I have to be like, maybe listen to people who are from there. You know what I mean? And don't think that like you're more knowledgeable, badass than they are, because you're really not. And it's like, thank God, like those guys weren't like super legit. But yeah, I mean, if they would have pulled a gun, my attitude would have been.
So there's no gun there.
No gun that I saw.
Yeah.
Anyway, I mean, I think if there really were a gun, I mean, I don't know. I think they might have shot me. I don't know. I mean, everybody I talked to, it's like, there was another dude. I met a dude from Joburg last week, and this is as Joburg as it gets. Like, this dude's not even from the city. He's from outside. And he got mugged. They pulled a gun on him, and his dad's response when he came back home, I think he was like a teenager, his dad's response was like, well, did you even check if it was a real gun?
Wow. It's like Vinnie Jones right there.
It's a city for real men. The Uber driver that I had said that Joburg is a city for real men. And I couldn't agree more, and I don't want to be a real man. Yeah. I'm okay being a fake.
That's an awesome sentiment.
Yeah, I'm all right. I don't need to be a real man. But, I mean, there is a level, like, it's very, that aspect of it was there was a very primal aspect of it that was, like, really exciting. I mean, it didn't feel all that different in a way, honestly, from when we went on safari over in Krieger in the eastern part of South Africa, where it's like, yeah, you're like a fucking, you're like a goddamn zebra, I guess, or in that case, I was like a zebra or a giraffe or wildebeest or something. And it's like, you're just walking along. And it's like, dude, there's fucking lions everywhere, dude. They might get you if you're not being smart. Yeah. And so there is something there that's like for me, was like really exciting about it. But thank God nothing happened.
Has that been like the, I guess, most dangerous part you've been to on your travels?
I'd say so, yeah. Joburg, yeah. I think I mean, I went to Rio. I didn't go to too many, like, favelas or anything like that in Rio. I think I've been around it, you know what I mean? Around quite a bit of it, but I don't necessarily have a desire to go check out sketchy neighborhoods and places. You know what I mean? In general, I didn't. It was just like, the restaurant's an hour away. And it's like, let's just walk there. I don't like sitting in Ubers unless I have to. I prefer to walk because you get to see a city. And it's like, well, if we have to go through a sketchy neighborhood, we have to go through a sketchy neighborhood. You know? Yeah. And, but I think that was, and like I said, I hesitate to say that because I know there's already a lot of kind of negative connotations around South Africa. But you can, there's plenty of people who live there and they do fine. Just listen to what the locals do. Like, do some research, be smart and you'll be fine.
Yeah. This is your first time going to Dublin too next, or have you been there before?
No, this is my first time in Dublin. Yeah. And we're staying in the projects, bro. Okay. So I'm going back. Nice. Going back home.
Nice.
To Joburg.
Talk about your ancestry too, right? Your Irish ancestry. My ancestors are, yeah. Do you have family out there or anything, or do you know?
I mean, dude, I have ancestors. I'm American, dude, pretty much. It's like I'm just a mixture of Northern European people. Yeah. I think we tried to look something up, but couldn't necessarily find it. But yeah, my sister, she got the hotel for the first night, and their first line was, things to know. First line was, there are no windows in this room. It is centrally located. Pretty much like, don't bitch, you're getting a good deal. Yeah. And it says projects in it, so we're going to be staying in an interesting part of town. You know, maybe I'll come back with a mugging story from Dublin. I don't know how to do that.
I hope not. I hope you're not the first guy to get mugged in all seven
Dude, I think those
continents.
people. Do you hear McGregor talk about that? I think there's some sketchy parts of Dublin.
Yeah.
Too far out of the microphones, but yeah, no, it's my first time.
Yeah.
I'm super pumped. It'll be pretty cool. And then I do at the end of the year. This has been on my list for a while. I want to do probably like 8 to 10 days hiking through the Peruvian Andes by myself. Is kind of the plan.
That'd be interesting.
And so every once a year, my new thing, I'd like to do like a physical / sort of spiritual thing. So last year it was the bike ride. This year I want it to be walking through the Peruvian Andes, pretty like sleeping in tents every night and shit like that.
I think there's something so ancient about that too. Like, I mean, we talked about the way, I believe it was in Spain.
Oh yeah.
I think
was it Camino de Santiago?
Yeah. So we talked about that. I think that's just been such a, doing a pilgrimage. Is in many ways like it's however your faith views it or whatnot, but you're putting like some kind of penance on your physical body too that helps you transcend that. Enter into a spiritual realm. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. And I think that's the biggest thing that I would say as far as kind of cultures in general is I think that culture is always there, whether you can realize it or not. And I think in a lot of cases it's like, oh, there's not a whole lot of culture in the U.S. There's a shitload of culture.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And especially at our age, there's a lot of culture, and the culture revolves around empiricism. Yeah. If I can't see it, touch it, taste it, feel it, it's not real. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's not worth my time. Yeah. And I see a big push in that direction where it's like, why are we still holding on to these silly traditions of the past? And it's like, maybe there's some truth in there. Maybe there's some truth in there that maybe the reason why some people were doing the Camino de Santiago, I think is the name. Maybe the reason why, maybe you don't necessarily believe in that reason, but maybe there's still utility to what those people were doing. And maybe we shouldn't just let go of all these things because we don't see a tangible benefit to it. Maybe there were benefits there that we can't necessarily understand. You know what I mean? And so I think that's one thing that I'm myself working on as well. It's like maybe there is a reason why people have been living like this for thousands and thousands of years. And maybe we shouldn't just throw it entirely out. You know what I mean? So that would be one. But yeah, dude, pushing yourself physically and like having like a physical / spiritual combined experience. I think I've been drawn to that for as long as I can remember. Yeah. I mean, like wrestling's a prime example. I quit wrestling pretty young, but yeah, wrestling's one of those where it's just like you're just like beating yourself to shit, dude, in those practices, and it's like it's you versus you, you know.
And you said you're a biker, you're a runner as well.
No, I'm too big, man, for the running. It hurts my knees, but yeah, dude, I love biking, man. Like right now, I mean, I think my buddy a couple weeks ago when I got here, I've been here for about a month, and I'm here in Denver. And he's like, dude, you have a car? And I was like, yeah, man, I have a car. And because I just love biking, dude. The weather's, it's nice, man. It's like, get the blood flowing. It's the purest, biking specifically for me is the purest form of exercise. Pure in the sense of I'm doing it for its own sake. If I'm in the gym weight training, honestly, there's a lot of vanity tied up in why I get positive reinforcement from weight training. But like the biking, it's a pure joy, man.
Just adventure. Go see stuff too.
It's a beautiful thing. Yeah.
It's such a simple two wheels. Let's
exactly.
go.
You just push the little pedals, man. Then
where you have a car, that's your first. As a kid, you're like, sweet, I'm gonna go anywhere I want with this thing.
Yeah, bro.
Yep.
Yeah, I didn't have a car from like 19 to 27, 28.
Wow.
I biked everywhere. I wouldn't recommend it in the winter in Colorado, but outside of that, it's a good time.
So we got a question. We ask all of our guests whether you smoke or not. If you had to pick 4 people to smoke with in your smoking circle, who would they be?
That's a good question.
I'll give you time to think on it too.
Well, the first one I'd want to do would be fucking Tupac. You know what I mean? I think that'd be interesting to hear what Tupac would have to say.
I think that would be a good one too.
Yeah, man. Yeah. You know, I mean, he'd be out smoking me, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, Tupac would definitely be the first one that I would say. After that, I'm trying to think of famous people that smoked weed. Or I guess it could just be
just
people
be anybody.
that didn't even smoke weed.
Anybody.
You know? Yeah. Another one would be Nostradamus, but really I just want Nostradamus just to be like, yeah, dude, that was all just kind of bullshit. Like I was pretty much just like throwing things out. It's like, yeah, something's going to fall from the sky at some point in the next 2,000 years. He's like, yeah, that was all nonsense. I just want him to admit that.
To admit it.
Like really high and be like, yeah, dude, that was all bullshit.
Knock down some conspiracy theories.
So Tupac, we got Nostradamus. I mean, dude, if we're doing Tupac and like we can bring people back to life, I mean, probably Machiavelli.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
They talk to each other.
Here's some of his thoughts, dude. Like that'd be cool to hear Tupac and Machiavelli talking, and then like see what Machiavelli like. I feel like he probably got hurt by a girlfriend or something at a young age. I think that dude's got some real emotional baggage.
I think they talked about him writing like The Prince, for instance, like with the Medici family.
Yeah.
Like as a critique of them.
Oh, as a critique of them. So that wasn't even meant to be a genuine.
It was like
thing.
a satire.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Because when I read that fucking book, it was very much like
where it was like, all right, you want to learn. This is what they did. You want to become powerful. This is what they did.
See that? See, fucking getting there, getting high with Machiavelli. Listen to what he has to say. Dude.
I think it'd be brilliant. Yeah,
that'd be.
I think he's one of the most brilliant writers of all time.
Yeah. I don't think so. I'm reading Dostoevsky right now, The Brothers Karamazov.
Bear in mind, anybody who's listening, if we fudge on some facts and stuff like that, we're not looking at Google. We don't have our Jamie here. Okay?
Yeah, not Jamie.
We're doing our best.
Going on. So. Machiavelli did write The Prince. I remember reading that in high school. And that's a cool theory, though. I like that.
Yeah.
Theory. The other one. I'm going between like Tolstoy and Dostoevsky, two like 19th century Russian novelists.
Those are both.
They're both good, man.
Sometimes I combine the two. I'm just like, whatever. They're one person to me.
In my mind, the way I view it is Tolstoy was more religious. And and this is another conspiracy theory on the conspiracy theory side, but I've heard it argued that Dostoevsky really wasn't as religious as he may have seemed to be. He just wanted to get through state censors. Okay. So that's why he made his books a bit more religious. Okay. But if you read Dostoevsky books, there's like there's letters you can read where he's like, where people are like, yeah, dude, you're giving like the atheist in this argument way too much credibility. It's like, you got to kind of chill it out, dude, or that's not going to pass the censors. You know what I mean? He's like, oh shit, okay. Yeah. And so I like that argument. Like I like that inherent split that Dostoevsky has, where it's like he can, like he has a lot of beautiful ideas, and it'd be cool to actually hear from him. Yeah, but Tolstoy is pretty kick-ass too. That's a tough one, dude. I think Tolstoy probably more for the soul. I view Tolstoy as more like a spiritual monk, whereas Dostoevsky was like, he had a lot of gambling issues.
Okay, that's a good four.
Yeah,
I think that's a hell
Tolstoy,
of a four.
Machiavelli,
Tupac,
Nostradamus, and Tupac. You can write that down. I imagine you won't find that. Yeah. That foursome for everything rather.
My last guest, who's a podcast we're gonna put on, she named me as one of the top four. So.
Oh yeah.
That was huge. I was like, I don't know how good a conversation I'll be on that, but.
Well, dude, I was like, I could just hang out with you any day. So.
Yeah. So we'll see.
I guess I should have just said, yeah, my mother, my grandmother, and two close friends.
Yeah, two close friends. Yeah. I'm like, if you do all the time, it's like, yeah, I mean, I can hang with my buddies all the time. I'll just pick somebody. You know what I mean?
Well, who would be yours?
Changes all the time. Yeah. Changes all the time. I think it's based on like whoever I'm talking with the guest usually. And it's like, oh, I didn't think of that. So I feel like mine is usually cheating. So I'll probably wait until like the day they fire me in here. So and then I'll release it. So yeah, whenever Veriheal decides I'm done. We'll see.
I think you'll be hanging out for a while, bro. It's cool shit that you're doing, man.
I appreciate it, brother. Like I said, you as well. I think this is awesome. I'm really glad you're coming on this podcast, man. Mm-hmm. So like Room 420 has just been a great opportunity to talk to people like you about, your path in life, not necessarily cannabis, but just, your spirit, where you're kind of going, not just your job, you know what I mean, but who we are as people,
For sure. The kind of last thing here is, if anybody out there who's interested in being a digital nomad, regardless of where you want to get your tips from, whether it's from Digital Nomad Lifestyle or not, you can do it. You know what I mean? It's not not an impossible thing to do, and that you can always reverse it. I think that's a big thing too. Is like people think, oh man, I'm just gonna have to go full bore. You don't have to sell your apartment and do all the shit that I did. It took me a while to get to that point. Mm-hmm. It's like, yeah, you just take a little, like test it out for a couple months. Like in a lot of cases, like the old job's still gonna be there. Don't burn the bridges and be like, fuck you, I hate you piece of shit. You know what I mean? Just be like, hey dude, I want to try something. Like I'll give you I'll do 4 weeks to kind of get out of my current job, you know what I mean? Or it's like, hey, if you're working a job that you're not even that pumped about anyway, it's like, and it's easy to jump back into it, then screw it, you know what I mean? Like, start looking stuff up, or reach out to me, dude. I'm happy to help. I got some resources on digitalnomadlifestyle.com that might help you out as well. So, yeah, for sure.
Awesome, dude.
You can do it.
Well, hey, I appreciate you, man. I appreciate the sentiment. Thank you for coming, dude. Have fun in Dublin.
Sure.
We're all going to be wishing you staying out of trouble, but know you're going to be having some fun. I hope, hey, some Libertine clubs, if you're listening in France, give them a discount, dude, and get us the video.
Cape D'Agde is the one. CAPD''ADGE. If you're in southern France and you want to see some of the craziest shit.
Okay.
That's the spot. That's the spot to go. I wasn't a huge fan, but my girlfriend at the time really loved it.
So anyways, thank you guys for listening. This has been Room 420. Be sure to follow us at Veriheal to stay up to date with the latest in cannabis news. Thanks for listening.
It's like explosions.
Back of the room with a drink in my hand and a blink. I demand you to cut the lights. Acting a fool, got a scheme and a plan. Need green in the bag, I'm gonna up the price. Only in the city for a couple nights. Posted for the video to up the likes. Don't be trying to hit me cause I ducked the right. I'm about to blow like Dizzy with the trumpet pipes. Drunk all night, I'll take a Sprite. Wait, let me get a whiskey just in case. Hit me with a strip tease.